Looking at the instant rise of Nick Dacos, Tim Kelly, Harry Sheezel and many more, it seems like players in their first or second year are having massive effects on their teams. Has it always been like this, or are the development systems the AFL has over the country getting these players ready quicker? So with a bit of research and looking at the past, here are a few players who had outstanding first years in the AFL. All of these players came into the competition in this century, and a couple were mature ages you might have forgotten. Instant impact was Chris Judd's first year. As good as Dacos, Walsh and Sheezel were in their first years at picking up heaps of disposals, Judd's impression on games was just as significant with half the touches. He passed the eye test with his trademark burst. 15 disposals per game isn't great, but he kicked 21 goals in a West Coast team that finished 8th with 11 wins and 11 losses. The year before, the Eagles won just 5 games. Playing a mix of midfield and forward, Judd had 7 games with multiple goals and at least 13 disposals. A few of his outstanding performances included 21 disposals and a goal in round 13 against Adelaide, 18 disposals, 3 goals against Melbourne, and 19 disposals and 2 goals against Port Adelaide in just his 5th AFL game. He was rewarded with the AFLPA Best First Year Player, missing out on the rising starter Nick Riewoldt, and also came an impressive 3rd in the Eagles Best and Fairest. He didn't put up the massive numbers we see in today's game, but Judd's offensive play at his age was phenomenal. It's been a big drop off from Jaden Stevenson ever since his betting suspension in 2019. He now finds himself in his 3rd year at North Melbourne, 25 years old, and not any guarantee of being a best 22 or 23 player. But back in 2018, he was far from this. He was a critical member of Collingwood's dynamic forward line. The team reached a grand final, falling a kick short. In 26 games, including the 4 finals, Stevenson kicked 38 goals and averaged 12 disposals per game. He was a runaway Rising Star winner, becoming the first Collingwood player to win the award. It actually took Stevenson 4 games to kick a goal, and he saved them all up in a huge 5-goal performance against the Crows in Adelaide. 12 times he kicked at least 2 goals in the season, and in the grand final specifically, Stevenson chipped in with a couple of goals. At the time, it seemed like Stevenson would be a 200 plus game player for the Pies, and with his speed and agility, cause havoc inside 50 for his career. After being overlooked multiple times in the AFL draft, Dane Zorko had to head to Broadbeach and play in the NEAFL. By 2010, he had already won 3 consecutive best and fairest at the club, and in the 2011 off-season was picked up by the Gold Coast Suns using their zone selection policy. He wouldn't stay for long, being traded to Brisbane for picks 34 and Matthew Warnock. He even had to wait until round 7 to play, and it was against Collingwood at the Gabba. Not much came of it. He posted 8 disposals as the activated sub in a heavy loss. The Lions stuck with him, and by round 12 began a transition in the AFL, gathering 24 disposals and kicking 3 goals against Hawthorn. Playing mainly forward with some time on the ball, Zorko began to be a crowd favourite, and his back end of the season saw him become one of Brisbane's most exciting and effective forward half players. He kicked a critical goal against the Power in a round 22 win, showing his ability to run out games fully, which was a question mark around him, and his knack of finding goals from any position. In his 16 games, he averaged 20 disposals, 1 goal and 6.5 tackles. Brisbane weren't good at this stage, and Michael Voss was about to get sacked, but the pickup of Zorko proved to give them a spark. This might test your memory a little. Does the name J-Pod ring a bell? Back in 2009, Geelong picked up long-time VFL forward James Podsy Adley. He had spent 2009 with the Cats VFL program, kicking 68 goals and winning their best and fairest. At this time, Podsy Adley had a fantastic VFL career, mainly for Werribee, winning the VFL best and fairest in 2008. He had stints at Collingwood, the Western Bulldogs and Richmond over his journey, but but never got on an AFL list. In the 2010 season, and at 28, he would get his shot. He debuted in round 3 in a loss to Fremantle, but he gathered 17 disposals, 11 marks and kicked 2 goals. In the home and away season, Podsy Adley played 16 games, regularly hitting 15 disposals and a couple goals. In some of Geelong's big wins, he would often feast alongside Tom Hawkins, and J-Pod kicked 5 goals in a game 6 times this season, accounting for 30 of his 49 total goals. He played a great semi-final against Fremantle, kicking 3 goals, and played in the preliminary final loss to Collingwood. In a short span of time, he became a club and league favourite. A 28-year-old in his first season, coming from nowhere, 1 goal off 50 is a great story. It's outside of his first year, but still worth a mention. In 2011, he played in a grand final win, actually getting subbed off with an injured shoulder. In his second season, he won Geelong's goal kicking and completed a quick rise to the top.